Welcome into the college basketball BMOC Bet Buffet, where we bring in Jeff Nadeau. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Go over all things college basketball, give out some free bets, all of that nonsense. Let's get right into it. BMOC, welcome in. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good, BMOC. What'd you think of that game, real quick, man? What are quick thoughts for the college basketball crew?
Oh, it was a great game last night, Drew. Really fun time. Had it enjoyable time doing the betcast. Hey, we got a great game. I think that's all we asked for was a good game, and it was one hell of a game. Tua came in, played well. I think they got a quarterback down there in Alabama for a couple years. Alabama, an amazing program, and yeah, I mean college football's best again. Great game. Had a fun time.
Yeah, for sure, BMOC. One thing I wanted to kind of start off the show with is, a lot of the college football fans wanting to just kind of stick to the college basketball hardwood. Any big-time thoughts, maybe kind of like a Cliff Notes version of what you've seen thus far in the season for kind of more of the college football fan transitioning into betting college basketball this season?
I think the big thing is, Drew, the amount of good teams there are in the country, but the lack of great, amazing teams is low. I mean, there are a lot of really, really good basketball teams right now in the country. I mean, I could probably name you 20 really good teams right now that I would put a future on. The problem is how many of those will fall off, how many of those will struggle at times in conference play and really kind of just fall off, and how many will ascend and continue to go into March at a high level. There are a lot of really good teams. Is there that one great team that is just high head and shoulders better than everyone else? I don't know, and that's an interesting thing as you come in. But if you're coming in and just you haven't really looked at hoops, or you're just getting going this week, you want to make sure you're definitely, and that's what college hoops is. It's all about putting in the time, putting in the effort, putting in the tireless hours of learning the teams and getting to know the players, what players are in and what are out. I mean, I've said that all year. It's a big thing because in college hoops you have so many more teams than you have in any other sport. College hoops is the only sport where there's literally on a weekly basis, you're betting 250 different teams. You have to be on top of what you're doing. You can't just jump on in. It's not like the NFL where there's 30-ish teams. There's a lot of teams, a lot of players, a lot of info, and it changes on a dime.
Yeah, well, we got big Tuesday cards, Wednesday cards, Thursday cards, and then always that college basketball Saturday
Yeah.
card now with what? Over 100 games. That's tough on the odds makers. So a lot of opportunities to win. But BMOC, what about NFL playoffs this past weekend? Also, getting ready for the national championship. Anything that caught your mind, caught your eye over the weekend that bettors can use going forward on the college basketball hardwood to maybe get an edge on the bookies?
Yeah, I think there were some things that we definitely kind of maybe didn't even realize, or we kind of just glossed over it. But Duke lost over the weekend, and they did not look good in that game against the NC State Wolfpack, a Wolfpack team that is average to poor. I mean, they're not very good. And you give up over 90 points. The big concern with the Duke Blue Devils right now is their defensive play. I mean, not only has their defensive play been poor, but they haven't did anything good on the defensive end. They haven't defended the rim at a high level. Pick and rolls have been a problem. The three-point defense and penetration has been problematic. They just really haven't gotten any good defensive play whatsoever, and a lot of it has to do with their guard play as well. They have not had decent guard play, really. I mean, it's been up and down, very high at some points, very low at some points. Grayson Allen has kind of disappeared, if you will. I mean, Drew, they're 250th in scoring defense. They're out of the top 100 in defensive efficiency. This is not a good basketball team on the defensive end right now. That was something that I think was kind of lost. How good the Virginia teams, West Virginia, Virginia, have been playing. I've been mentioning that. I mean, Drew, I think one of the more unheralded players in the country is Javon Carter. I mean, a 4-year player, a guy that's put the time in at West Virginia. He's bought into the system there. He plays some unbelievable defense. I mean, he shut down Trey Young the other night. I mean, Trey Young was largely MIA in the first half, and that had to do a lot with the fact that Javon Carter is just an elite defender. And West Virginia is a team that is still lacking some of their better players. They're going to get players off suspension this weekend. A guy like Issa Ahmed who's going to really make that defense even better than it already is. I think the one concern with Virginia and West Virginia is, are they going to play Word during the season? Yes. The big question is, will they get this during March? Because they've largely been unproven in the tournament. I mean, they haven't. West Virginia made it past the Sweet 16 in a couple years. Uh, 3 out of the last 4 years, Virginia struggled to get past the first weekend. So it's all going to be about maintaining that consistency. But Drew, when you're Virginia and you're giving up 52.5 points a game, it seems like every night they give up 45, 50 points a game. I mean, it's just an elite defense. I mean, he's Tony Bennett got to be one of the better defensive coaches I've seen. I mean, the fact that in this day and age he can get people to play defense the way they do, and you look at on the offensive end, they don't turn the ball over. Drew, this is an amazing stat with Virginia. They're number one in the country in fewest turnovers per game. On average, they're only turning the ball over about 9 times a game. They take care of the basketball, and I mean, they're an elite, amazing, fantastic defensive team. So, yeah, those are a couple things. I mean, the SEC's been interesting with, Auburn's kind of move up. But, definitely Duke defensively has been a bit of a surprise, I think, was largely missed over the weekend.
Yeah, BMOC, you bring up Virginia, and we're going to get into tonight's matchups and maybe some of tomorrow's matchups a little bit later on the show, not much longer, and give out some free plays. But I mean, that game, it will be interesting to see if that even makes 100 because, the Syracuse zone defense, Virginia, as well as they play defense, and Syracuse struggled on the offensive end. But BMOC, we got a bunch of guys in the chat. Nick, Adam, Conrado, they're all saying what's up. BC catching 14 looks good. That one caught my eye, so we'll have to get into that as well. But BMOC, what about some teams concerning you? You bring up Duke on the defensive end. I mean, that's concerning so far this year. Is that a team that maybe to look to bet overs? And what other teams are concerning you so far in the college basketball season?
Yeah, I definitely think it's worth, betting overs with them. I mean, they're a really efficient offensive team. They're the number one rebounding team in the country, Duke. I mean, they're averaging over 44 a game. That's the best in the country. So, again, they're going to have a lot of easy opportunities. Marvin Bagley around the rim is pretty much unstoppable. So, yeah, I mean, overs are going to be a good play. And until they get the defense, the one thing you'd wonder where Duke is, why they don't play zone a little bit more. When they play zone, they actually look decently competent defensively. But Coach Krzyzewski's not been really in on running that for the whole game, which is definitely odd. Another team that's just concerning out of some of the comments made, I mentioned on our show earlier, Arizona. I mean, they had this stretch where they've looked really good, but then they lose to Colorado over the weekend, and you hear some comments from Sean Miller about he doesn't know how to coach this group right now. They just don't try hard and I give 100%. Comments like that are pretty damning for teams, and that's a concern. Going forward. I mean, they had the stretch where they looked real good. They're winning a ton of games right after that Bahamas trip, but then they go out and lay an egg. That's a concern. And then you had real good Pac-12 this year. There's a lot of good teams out there. You even looked at like the lower rungs. I mean, even we saw over the weekend, Stanford can go out and really shock you if you don't try hard. And another a quick point, Drew, I wanted to make. This is kind of like a mid-major conference, but the two teams that I'm a little concerned with right now, and I want to make it clear, the Missouri Valley Conference, I really like this conference. I have over the years, but now that Wichita's gone, I like it even more. There's a little bit more parity in the conference. It's kind of a battle now. It's not just Wichita and everyone else, but you look at the two bottom teams in that conference, the New Boys, Valparaiso, and Northern Iowa. Two teams you'd expect to be up at the top, at the bottom. They've had major concerns, both those teams, real issues scoring the basketball. I mean, this conference is known for defense, but at some points you got to be willing to turn it up. And you look at some of the other teams that have done well, the Drakes, the Illinois States, the Missouri States. All of those teams have viable scoring options, and they play some pretty good defense as well. So that's a fascinating conference with about 5 or 6 teams that can win that conference. It'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. That will be one of the better tournaments in March as far as conference tournaments. You have a lot of really solid on the same level basketball teams out of Missouri Valley, and you'd have to imagine at some point the big boys, Northern Iowa and Valpo, are gonna get going.
I was just going to say BMOC. I mean, would you pick Northern Iowa to win the conference?
No. And one of the reasons is, Drew, I'm not I mean, there's not a I don't know if there's a team in this conference that I trust on the road. But we have to remember a lot of the road games that they're being docked for were tougher games. They were out of conference. They were against better competition. But, the trouble with Northern Iowa is they haven't won on the road this year. And they have such a large home road split where their home games are really tough. It's hard to go in there and win. But on the road, they're just a very average to below average team. They're shockingly bad on offense. I mean, they don't run anything. It's really hard to watch in the half court. I mean, last couple games, I mean, they're not pushing 60 points. Last time they scored 60 points was before Christmas. I mean, last 4 games they've had 56 points or less in every game. That's not going to get the job done at the Division 1 level consistently. You could play great defense, but at some point you could have someone that's able to take the ball and say, "I'm going to go out and get a basket." And the teams that I mentioned, the Drakes, the Illinois States, the Missouri States, they all have one player that can take a game over and get a basket. I'm not sure that that Northern Iowa has that. So no, I don't think they're going to win this conference because I don't think they're very good, frankly, on offense. And at some point, you're going to have to score the basketball.
Yeah, I mean, Ken Palm has them 349 in terms of offensive pace so far this year. Tomorrow they play Indiana State. He has it at 120 the total. Would you look to be betting Northern Iowa under the next couple games here?
Well, I don't think it's ever a bad idea. I mean, when you have Northern Iowa, you really have to look at, again, I think it's important to make sure you're looking at who they're playing because there are some teams in this conference that do struggle like them to score. Evansville is one of them. Bradley, Southern Illinois. Those are kind of some of the lower tempo. When you're a team like Drake, you really got to you might have some value on an over in a game like that because Drake is a really good offensive team, very efficient, good from the foul line, good from three. They can regularly put up 80 points a game. So, yeah, I think from game to game, when they're playing a Valpo or they're playing a Bradley, I will take some of those real low totals just because for them, I feel like it's first to 50 wins a lot of the time.
BMOC, you brought up Wichita State or it not being in the Missouri Valley, now going over to the AAC. Would you take Wichita State or Cincinnati out of this conference?
I think it's going to be quite the battle, but I'd like to see Wichita State get a little bit more semblance on the defensive end because the Cincinnati Bearcats, Drew, one thing about Mick Cronin that you can always respect, I'm not a huge fan of his. He's a little bit of a head case, but you look at this team, Drew, second in the country defensively, 58.5 points a game. They played some great defense. They were fantastic the other night against the SMU Mustangs. I think Cincinnati is there's concerns for both teams because for one, you have a team in Cincinnati who's really good offensively, but there are times offensively where they struggle. I mean, they go through these spurts. Wichita State's going to hit you. They're going to hit you hard, and they're getting back players. They're finally getting fully healthy. They've had players in and out of the lineup, had to navigate a pretty tough out-of-conference schedule. I'd still say Wichita will win this conference. I think it's going to be a great battle. Don't forget SMU. The concern you have with SMU is the only place they can win is Moody Coliseum, seemingly. That's been a problem for Jankovic's crew. They just are too dependent on their home wins. And in March, you got to go on the road and win a lot of the time. So that's a concern. UCF is an interesting group. They're a really good defensive team as well. And they're going to get B.J. Taylor back. Don't sleep on B.J. Taylor. He's about as important to a team as anyone is. When you can get hit back, you get Taco Fall there, who you can't score on penetration wise. They have a real good defense. Adding him will be interesting. They might be a bit of a sleeper in the America, but for me, it's still Wichita.
BMOC, 2 questions on the AAC. Is Taco Fall, is he 100% healthy now? And is SMU off of all of their sanctions and they're good to go?
They are. They don't have any sanctions. They got Jamal McMurray eligible, which is a huge boost for them. Gives them a bit of a scoring punch. He comes over from South Florida. Gives them, like I said, an instant offense. And as far as Taco Fall is 100% healthy. Again, what you're dealing with, we have to remember, Taco Fall is among the 40 tallest people in the world, not just in the United. He's among the tallest people in the world, and when you're that tall, you're going to have some health issues that a lot of us might not have. Think of it, Drew, similar to, and I hate to say this, and I feel terrible saying this, but I'm going to say it. It's similar to like me and you. You're more you're in better shape than I am. That there's no secret about that. I might have a little bit more of a health issue at times than you do. That's the same thing with Taco. He might have a knee issue that someone else might have. You're gonna have to play him sparingly. And you look at his minutes last year, over 26. This year he's only at about 21. So while he's very efficient when he's in there, he just doesn't play enough. But he is a great player to watch. I've seen him in person. He's quite a player, man.
BMOC, I don't know about that, man. I mean, you don't drink, and there's some Sunday mornings where I wake up and I'm surprised I'm alive, bro.
Well, you know what, Drew? There's some things that I don't do. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. Never done any of that. But food can be a real killer. And, obviously I'm getting a handle on that. So obviously at some point, Drew, I probably will be healthier than you. But right now, I think you have a leg up on me on that.
Well, good, man. I root you on that. I'm in your corner. Bro, anything you else want to throw out topic-wise, college basketball? I have some stuff on the SEC I wanted to hit you on, but anything you want to throw out there?
Man. We can finish that up. Let's end it on the SEC, and then we'll get into some game predictions here tonight.
All right. I got two things for you. All SEC championship last week. I'm an SEC guy, so just wanted to throw these two things at you and see what your angle is on it. SEC has 3 teams with a losing conference record likely going dancing. Tennessee, Arkansas, and Texas A&M right now. And there's no teams outside the Ken Pom top 100 in the SEC right now. Is it the best college basketball conference in the nation?
No, I still think the Big 12 is. But listen, the SEC, I think as far as this is kind of the conference I was zeroing in on, where I think there's a lot of really good teams here. I don't think there's a great team, and I don't think any of these teams are good enough to win or get to the Final Four even. Like you look at going down here, Florida's a good team. I still think Florida might be the most talented team, and when they get John Egbunu back, he's going to help their team defensively immensely. They have a major issue right now with no real size. When he comes back, that's a big boost for them. Auburn, they might be the most intriguing, Drew. I mean, they're really everything you want in a basketball team. They score. They're 10th in the country in rebounding. They're good from the free throw line, good from 3. They have a couple guys who can take a game over. Are they good enough defensively? That's a big question, but they've had good wins this year. Kentucky, we all know, talent-wise, they're probably top 5 talent in the country. Can they put it all together? Georgia's a bit of an outsider. There's a lot of outsider teams here that are good basketball teams that will get to the tournament and maybe win a game. Is there a team here that I think can win the tournament? The only team that, for me, that I think at the end of the day will be good enough, I think Florida's that team. I still think, I don't really care what happened in December. I think when the rubber meets the road here in March, they have the experience. They have the coach. Mike White is still a really good coach. They have the ability. They bring in Kucherov from Rice. He can give you a shooting aspect there. I like Florida. I still believe in them. I still think they're a team that can make a deep run in March. So for me, I think there's a lot of really good teams. The one real good team might be Florida.
You think Georgia and Mississippi State make the tournament?
I have to look at their resumes, but
okay.
Again, there could be a lot of teams in this tournament from this group. Gun to my head, I don't think Mississippi State will. I think they'll come back to earth a bit. Georgia, if they keep shooting the way they do they will. Yante Maten's a great player. But Georgia, they're always kind of a bubble team, so I don't believe much in them. Ole Miss, they'll fall out of the way. Missouri, too many problems there. They're a mess of a unit right now. LSU, I love Will Wade. I think he's a great coach, but I don't think they have enough firepower. Arkansas, I love, but they just don't get after it defensively and so on. There's a ton of talent here, but is there any team that can win? I don't know. Maybe Florida. That's about it.
All right, BMOC. Well, let's get into some of tonight's games. We mentioned Syracuse, Virginia. Well, we got Syracuse on a 2-game losing streak. UVA, only the one loss at West Virginia, I believe. In this game's been bought up. Virginia taking money, now seeing tens pretty much across the board. Dave Malinsky wrote in Point Blank today on SBR Picks. Check it out, a good article on this. He likes Virginia. Do you like the Cavaliers in this, BMOC? In totals wise, which way would you look to bet it?
I'd look to bet it under the total. I mean, I know it's very low, but I, I mean, Virginia just keeps teams, I mean, on the regular, Drew, in the 40s. I mean, that's an amazing feat. And you're getting a team in here in Syracuse that is not good on offense. I mean, they're not. They lost Geno Thorpe. That was a huge loss for them. They're only shooting 39.5% on the road. Um, the only way I think this game will go over is if Syracuse owns the boards, which they can in this game. I think the one knock on Virginia is they do have a bit of a weak front court. I mean, I like Jack Salt, but unfortunately, he doesn't play enough. Neither of these teams foul a whole lot. Neither of these teams, Virginia can make the occasional three, and they're going to hurt you from that end. But they play such great defense. I'm not running to the window to think that Syracuse can score 50. I don't think it's out of the question every night to think that Virginia. I mean, Virginia held UNC in the 40s, so I just don't know that I see how Syracuse is going to go on the road here into Charlottesville. I mean, and it's like I said, they're not playing well as it is right now. They're only scoring about 60 points a game over the last 5 or so. Um, I think it's going to be incredibly tough for them tonight. I think this game will stay, you know, in the 90s, maybe low hundreds. I think this is like a 58-46 type of game. I don't think this is a high scoring game at all. I think it'll be boring, but for me, I love to watch it because I like games like this.
Yeah, the total, it's taken a little under money. I like it towards the under as well. Hey, we got Gilbert in the chat box asking, Big Man, can you talk about Rhode Island? They got a game against St. Louis. St. Louis has some injuries, don't they? So you looking to bet Rhode Island tonight?
Yeah. I mean, they're on my radar for sure. I haven't picked what game I'm on. There's definitely some games I like tonight. And Rhode Island's a team that I think is the best team in the Atlantic 10. They're going to go through some bumps just like every other uh, uh, Atlantic 10 team does. But the big question for St. Louis is they've been pretty good at home. I mean, they've been very up for most of their home games. On the road's been a different story, but overall the Billikens are well coached. They try hard, and you look at their home games. I mean, they're hanging. I mean, they're not getting crushed. You beat Richmond the other night, which is a nice win. Hung in for the most part against Houston, beat Murray State. They're a team that will hang around. The concern, though, tonight, Drew, is if Goodwin doesn't play, I don't think they have much of a chance in this game. Goodwin is some of the little amount of scoring they do have is Goodwin. I mean, he's 11 points a game. He's their best rebounder. He's going to steal a couple of balls per game. If he doesn't play, I don't think there's any way that Rhode Island stay in this game. But the concern I have on Rhode Island here is why is this line drop from 9 to 6.5? A big move down on something that makes no sense. And that's a concern for me because I have seen St. Louis play some hard basketball at home. Ian Cameron's mentioned that to me. Him and I talk a lot about St. Louis, and that is a concern here in this game. But if Goodwin doesn't play, it's hard for me to think that St. Louis can hang in this game.
Well, we got some questions. Bradley, Georgetown, Tennessee versus Vandy. Do you have any opinion on these two games or any other games you want to hit, BMOC?
I'll quickly hit them. I think someone said Tennessee. I don't have a big feel in that game. Two teams that are kind of rivals in a way. You got to move down. People like in Vandy. Vandy always an interesting place to play. I've heard that, but they're 0-6 to the number at home, and Drew, they're 1-11 this year against the spread. That's not a type of resume I want to buy into. I think Tennessee's the better overall team. They should get the job done. Uh, I like Purdue tonight, but the whole world seems to be on them. It's a short number. I think the interesting thing about Michigan tonight is can they guard the two big kids down low? No, but I don't also think that Michigan, Moritz Wagner, can be guarded by those two on the perimeter. So that'll be an interesting matchup. We'll do 5 more minutes here, Drew. I'll just go rapid fire through this chat here, see if I have anything. Where are we at here? Where are we at here? Fade Seton Hall tonight. I would look just over. There should be plenty of points in that game tonight. Penn State, Indiana, two teams that are just kind of very inconsistent. I don't have much interest in backing. Alabama, yeah, but they've really tailed off. I mean, it's hard to imagine that I want to back them. Sexton should have a big night, but they're getting Ingram back off injury. They'll help, but they're just a team that's weird. And South Carolina can rebound the basketball. They're going to play hard under Frank Martin. But I do like Alabama at home. I'd like that more if it was 1.5, 2. At 4, they're going to have to win by 5 or 6. And when you're getting Alabama at that kind of number, I am concerned because they are not a good foul shooting team. And that's going to be a tough number to cover late because you're going to have to make foul shots to get the job done.
BMOC, you
Uh,
bring up Alabama. I mean, talent-wise, they're supposed to be all that great, but you brought up the fact that they're just a weird team. What's going on there? Can they turn it around?
well, they can't win on the road. That's been a big problem for them. They're not very, I don't think they're very good. I mean, I
Okay.
had a lot more sights on this group. Offensively, they've over in this and when they've gotten in the SEC, they've really had problems. I mean, the half court they can't seemingly find ways to score. At home they've been a lot better though at Coleman Coliseum. You obviously and Drew, I want to make this point. I think this is a huge thing to mention. I've had a ton of luck over the years backing a team off their football team winning the national championship. Ohio State was in a certain situation like that a couple years ago. You're going to have it every year. This might be a really good spot to back Alabama tonight due to the fact that they're a better team than South Carolina. They're at home. They're getting Dazon Ingram back, who is going to add to the rebound possibility. Plus, they're going to thrive. We have to remember they get a good crowd at home. This place is going to be wild after that win last night for the Alabama football team. They'll probably get honored, I'd imagine. This might be worth a look in laying the number. The only thing that concerns me is that free throw percentage. That might be a problem here. Or they just run them out, and it's not a big deal at all.
No, that's an interesting point. I mean, I guess you could say, yeah, that they'll be hyped, and a lot of these SEC stadiums actually, once the football team's kind of done playing, the basketball team's the only show in town. So you're right. It should be a better atmosphere than it's been, I guess, in recent weeks. But yeah, man,
There's a bit more intrigue around this basketball program too. I mean, now that they have Colin
yeah.
Sexton and Avery Johnson, there is a bit more intrigue around them too. So yeah, I mean that's definitely an interesting angle to take a look at tonight, and I think this is going to be a great atmosphere for them.
What about Texas Tech, Oklahoma? Anything there?
Yeah, I chatted about this one on the morning show, the right side of campus. I think Oklahoma is going to have another tough time at it tonight. Texas Tech is a elite defensive team. They have really bought into defense under Chris Beard. They're an old team. There are a lot of veterans. I think it's going to be similar for Trae Young tonight that it was Saturday. You're going to start to see him. I think he's not going to score 30 points every game. There are going to be teams that are just going to be able to defend him. We saw it over the weekend. You might see it again tonight. They're an elite defensive team. And what they do well, Drew, Texas Tech, is they're great in transition on the defensive end. They don't allow a lot of transition buckets. I think they're top 15 in transition defense. If you can limit that against Oklahoma, you're going to have a pretty good time at it. And the problem that I also see with Oklahoma is who else is going to step up for this team? They have a ton of good players here, but it's too much you're seeing they're struggling when Trae Young struggles. When he doesn't play well, they seemingly haven't played well. And that's a bit of an issue. And now you get Texas Tech as a dog. I think they'll win. The concern I have on this game is it's Big 12 city. It's glitz and glam. It's on ESPN. Everybody's going to be betting it.
Mm.
Gun to my head, though, I like the points in situations like this. I would lean with the points that I'm getting with the Red Raiders.
BMOC, loving the live chat, man. It's blowing up. Kevin, Mark, Taylor, Nick, Sean, thanks guys for chiming in. We got Taylor asking Auburn, Ole Miss. Anything on War Eagle versus the Rebels, BMOC?
Yeah, Ole Miss is a team that I still like. I like Andy Kennedy a lot. I think he's a good coach, and I think he's a kid He's got a couple kids that are really good. And listen, they've been really motivated for the most part. They had a game a couple weeks ago against Illinois State. They gave up 101 points. They lost the game, obviously, and Enfield or Andy Kennedy lit into them. He called them, just not very good right now. That they look like they don't care. They look defeated. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, they've run out. 4 out of 5 here. So, and they got a big win over the weekend against Mississippi State. So, yeah, they're starting to play well. I think at this point you're starting to see Auburn be a little overvalued. I mean, you're going to lay double digits here with Auburn. It might be a little too many for me. It's like a 6.5, 7 type number, not 10.5. I like what I've seen at Ole Miss lately. They are a team that can score the basketball, and defensively they've been better this year. They might be able to stay in this game because Auburn fouls too much. That's one knock I have with them. They can't defend without fouling. They're fouling almost 21 times a game. That's way too many. I think Auburn will win this game, but I don't think they're going to win by 15 or 13 or anything like that. I think I would take Ole Miss here.
Yeah, what Bruce Pearl's been able to do there on the Plains has been great, man. Good atmosphere there in Auburn Arena. It's kind of a newer arena, only 3 or 4 years old, right there on campus, right in the dorm. So it's a good setup there for Auburn. But I kind of agree with you. I mean, 10.5, it's getting a little pricey here in conference play. BMOC, we got over 200 people watching right now. We really appreciate it. If you're liking the content, guys, we're going to be doing this every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Please give us a thumbs up. The like button, it helps us out a lot. And BMOC, let's give some love to some degenerates tonight. 561, 562, 563, 564. We got the 11 o'clock Eastern tips. Boise, Fresno, San Jose State, San Diego State. Anything on the late night specials here, BMOC?
I think Boise State Fresno will be a great game. I really do. I think whoever's getting points in that game, which in this case obviously going to be Boise, and I actually like that because I think they're the better team. I think that's a great game. I think that'll be a low 60s type of game, maybe mid 60s. One of those typical, drag out 65, 62 Mountain West type of games. I'm going to lean with whoever gets the points there. I like Hutchinson a hell of a lot. Like him a lot for Boise. And Fresno's a team that, they're off of a couple poor performances, but that should be a really good game. The other one, San Diego State, San Jose. I'm not sure I see any legitimate way San Jose stays in this game. San Jose is an interesting. Like if I was getting 19 at home with them in this kind of game, I would probably grab the point just because I don't think they're as bad as people think, but now you got to go on the road. The Aztecs have really figured it out defensively. And the problem they've always had is they haven't always figured it out offensively. They have this year. They're pushing 80 a game. This has the looks of like 85-60, 85-58. If the Aztecs care, they'll cover. But this is a lot of points with a team that, and Drew, as you know, and I think I've followed San Diego State pretty closely. I followed them basically since like 2005. I started kind of getting wind of them. Back when they had like Billy White, way back in the day. They're not a team that's particularly great as a big favorite. You look at the latest 8 games as a big favorite, more than 12 points, 3-5 to the number. I could see them winning by 19 or 10, 20 here, but I'm not willing to think they will. San Jose is really poor. I just want to make people aware of that. I don't think this game really deserves betting on. I don't see it.
Okay. So not too much of an opinion on that one in the late night. Anything else you want to throw out there, BMOC, college basketball wise or life wise, before we wrap this up?
Life right now, I'm not really sure. I'm just kind of doing my thing. As always, I appreciate the platform to come on and chat about college hoops. I enjoyed watching LaMelo and LiAngelo Ball a little bit ago in Lithuania. Thought it was a pretty amazing thing that on a Tuesday afternoon at 1:30 in the afternoon, over 110,000 people are watching 2 kids play in Lithuania. The reach of LeVar Ball, you can hate him as much as you want, but the reach is pretty unbelievable that he's developed just off of just basically talking. I mean, amazing stuff. But always enjoy the college hoops talk, Drew. Hopefully, as we get closer to March, we'll do it more soon.
Yeah, no, we'll probably do it more often. For now, it's on Tuesdays, 3 o'clock Eastern time. He is the big man on campus. Give him a follow on Twitter at Jeff Nadeau. Guys, we'll be back next week. But thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.